So when you buy something, is it the same as the way you would have bought something 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago? If you're going to buy a car, are you going to buy it exactly the way that you bought it way back when? Go to the showroom, read the brochure, maybe take it on a test drive, and have the salesperson tell you whatever they're going to tell you about the feature functionality? Or are you going to do your homework? Are you going to go to the website of the car company and read all about whatever car you're thinking about and read the product reviews and do all the things to educate yourself on what the purchase is? I think for most people the answer is yes. If you're making a purchase that's either significant in price or significant in perceived value to you, you're going to take advantage of the information that's available to you. It's also probably not your first purchase of something significant, whether it's a car or a camera or an iPhone or whatever the case may be. So you have experience with that. You're a much smarter buyer than you were perhaps the first time you bought. Well, the same is likely to be true with your buyers. Your buyers have access to information that buyers did not used to have access to. Way back in the old days, when I was selling software in Manhattan, which is really way back in the old days, the prospect learned based on what the salesperson shared with them. And of course, they needed to trust us and believe we were telling them the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the embellished truth. But their information really came from the salesperson. And as a result of that, in some cases, maybe not all, but the salesperson's ability to, accent the positive and eliminate the negative and don't mess with Mr. In-Between, they could really control what the buyer was learning. And so a certain type of salesperson definitely thrived in that environment. And many of them, of course, were very fine, honorable people, and some of them maybe not, but their ability to control the narrative made a big part of who they were. Well, that's obviously changed now. The buyer gets their information from a lot of different sources, and so how does that impact what they look for in the seller? It is different. They certainly are looking for a seller that they feel that they can trust, that cares about them, and will want them to be successful. I think it's also fair to say that they want a salesperson that has good, solid, accurate information and can bridge the gap between what perhaps a product or service does and how they're going to be able to utilize it. That implementation, how do I get from point A to point B? So in the old days, there might have been a greater focus on the extroversion trait and the dominance trait, being able to control the narrative, and to at least some extent, for some salespeople, to pretty much do and say whatever they felt needed to be done and said, was much different then than it is now. Now, the need for a salesperson who is thorough, who has the ability to follow through and provide the prospect or client, if we're talking about upgrades or add-ons, the information that they need. And it's not to say that they don't need to be able to make a compelling story, but there is no question that the nature of the salesperson needs to change with the nature of the buyer. And that indicates greater listening skills, greater attention to detail, and the ability to work in an environment where you know that all of the information is not coming from you, and be able to relinquish that necessary feeling of control. Hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Always happy to have a one-on-one discussion. And thanks for listening.